Are y'all ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Space Radio's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have y'all. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. I always appreciate that. And you guys, please follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You guys can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com. And please subscribe to my amazing YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress, where I have a Wednesday daytime show there at 1 p.m. Eastern and a Thursday night show at 8 p.m. every Thursday night, y'all. And it's about remote viewing. I'm remote viewing some weird stuff, and I'm having a really good time doing it. So y'all please come join me there. All right. We have a fantastic guest here at Spaced Out Radio tonight. I have Ed Brown here with me. Okay, don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has a great program set up for you tonight. So let's get to our guest. Ed Brown is a Bigfoot and cryptid researcher. He's the host of 2 popular YouTube talk shows on the Bigtruth channel. Ed's also a boots-on-the-ground researcher who has actively searched across the United States for Bigfoot, the paranormal, and extraterrestrials. He's a published author and is well known in the Bigfoot community, researching with Adam Davies, Russell Accord, and Bob Gimlin. His goal is to help create solidarity in the community, regardless of one's beliefs. And man, I know how that goes. I'm the same way. You guys, tonight, we're going to be sitting down with Ed Brown. So please help me welcome to the show. And by the way, I've got way too much technology in front of me tonight. Welcome to the show, Ed Brown. Hey, Ed.
What's going on?
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Well,
yes, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Hey, it's an honor. Yes. It really was. I was honored when you asked, and thank you for that. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Listen, I am a big fan of your YouTube channel and of all of your interviews you've done, and I've made the connection that you and I have a lot in common, actually.
Wonderful.
When it comes to Bigfooting and in the paranormal.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot of experience as well. We were just talking, and you said all that experience you got, it adds up.
I have a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah. And we have, there's a lot of people in chat tonight that are really excited that you're here, including Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. I saw that he's in the chat tonight. And you do a lot of research with some big names in the Bigfoot community. And it's an impressive list, actually. So I bet you got some good stories.
Well, I've been fortunate, and I don't think I've done anything different than what anybody else could do. And I remember when I was doing my show to sit down with Ed Brown, and let me give you a real quick shout out to Duke. Duke, thanks for the phone call earlier, brother. Appreciate it. Don't forget, hook me up later. We're going to get together. We're going to talk more. I'm going to get out to Montana and check out that spot we were talking about today. So let me get that out. I told him I would. So there we go, Duke.
Sweet.
But I've been fortunate to get to know a lot of people doing my shows, and what I've learned is when I first started doing it, I was always nervous before the show, and I remember I used to, when I first started, I was such an amateur because I was like, I wrote down all my questions and I, tried to do all this research, but as you go on, and I'm sure you realize, you get to know these people, and these people, they put their pants on the same way we do. They're really good people, and it's just a matter of if you have the time to meet up with them, because they're good people and they enjoy it as well.
That's right.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun. I've been lucky.
You have,
Duke,
and Duke. And Duke, too. Well, Duke actually comes on Spaced Out Radio pretty often, especially on Dave Scott's show, and does the Bigfoot reports, and it's a lot of fun. And so we got a big family here. We do have a lot of fun.
We went out. Duke and I went up to the skeleton tree. That was years ago, of course, but back when I was younger.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Well, you've been all over the United States doing your research, and when you first got into the paranormal, did you just dive right into the Bigfoot research, or did you start off experiencing ghosts or UFOs, or how did it start?
Right. Well, I'll tell you a little secret, and the little secret is I kind of got trapped, I guess, in this little Bigfoot box. You know, like everybody seemed to know me in the Bigfoot world, but outside that, nobody is like Ed Who. You know, which was a thing, by the way. Ed Who was a big thing for a long time, which was silly. but but no, but I've always enjoyed the paranormal more. I actually would rather go ghost hunting than Bigfoot hunting. You know, I mean, and I, I'm the guy that when they hear something, I'm running towards it as opposed to away from it, and that's what I like. And it doesn't matter what I'm looking
Yeah.
for. If if I can see it, I want to see it. You know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Well, I know the first time I ever went out Bigfooting, I bit off way more than I could chew, because when I was out in the field, I was not only having Bigfoot activity, but I had UFOs flying all around, and my team experienced a portal and like all this weird stuff,
Right.
and so it just kind of like took me down a rabbit hole right off the bat. But I know when
Yeah.
I was a kid, I experienced ghosts and, all this other weird paranormal stuff, which I thought were ghosts. But now I look back and I wonder if they were ETs. It's all very confusing. Okay.
Right.
The
Sure.
more
Sure.
research that I do, the less I feel like I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's exactly what we were saying a minute ago. Is that it's like there's the more you think you learn, the more you think you know, something inevitably will happen and it will change what you think in the first place. So you end up running around in circles trying to answer this, you know, seriously difficult trivia question, is
Yeah,
it real? What is it,
that's
So
right. Yeah. And we think we know, I mean, I was actually watching a video tonight of my friend Barry Littleton, who is like kind of like my sidekick. He put out a video about the DNA study that David Paulides has done, sent some samples off and stuff. And I figure maybe I could talk to you about that a little bit tonight, if you wanted to. But it's kind of the question of like, what is Bigfoot?
right.
There's two camps, and you know better than anybody. There's really a couple of camps with the flesh and blood, and then there's the we
Sure.
call it the woo over here at
Right.
Spaced Out Radio. I didn't realize that I was woo until I came to Spaced Out Radio. Okay.
Hey, look, there's
But
nothing wrong with being woo. It's
there's
okay.
nothing wrong with that. That's right.
Absolutely. Or flesh and blood. There's nothing wrong with being flesh and blood
There's
either.
there's nothing wrong with any of it, and I'm very open to it, and I know that you are too. And I've watched the interviews that you've done, and I know a lot of the people that you've interviewed actually, with the sit down with Ed Brown. Okay.
Right.
And there's actually, I live in the South, and my team, the head of one of my teams, got a phone call a few years ago from a couple down in Florida, and they were having a lot of Bigfoot activity on their property. Okay. And I was actually asked not to speak about their names and things like that, but now they're very public about it. I believe their names are the Bridges. And
I've spent a lot of time on their property. Yes.
I spent a weekend down there. It was only a weekend, but they had a
Okay.
lot of interesting activity, and I was watching an interview that you did with them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've actually been there and have done some investigation there before.
Yeah. We went down. I've been there. I don't know, probably 4 times. I guess I've been there. Bill and Carolyn are by far the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. Bill is like Bill and I are like brothers. I mean, as far as our he now see if he heard me say that, he'd be like, "Don't you call nobody my brother? Don't tell nobody that." But he's a great guy. Our personalities are very much alike. He's very witty. He doesn't mind popping a joke here and there.
Yeah.
Great guys. But there are some weird things going on that property, and I've experienced a lot of it myself. So yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. Yeah.
Have you? Well,
Oh yeah.
when we went down there, my whole team, we set up camp for a weekend. I was just there for 2 or 3 nights, and we didn't get a ton of activity when we were there, but we did pick up on a lot of weird energetics on that property, as though there was some sort of like a portal, or there was something going on there that was very unique. And I think it had that land has a lot of history, and I think a lot of places where
Oh yeah.
Bigfoots are prevalent or prominent, I think that there's a lot of interesting energetics on that property.
Well, there's an
So,
interesting story about that property, and I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but maybe you are. She might have told you. But there's a specific plant, and I don't know what it is. I'm not an expert in plants, so I don't know what it's called. but that plant actually keeps mosquitoes away. And they were put there by the Native Americans who used to inhabit that land. In fact, when they built their house, they found ancient pottery and things of that nature on the property. And but that plant still grows there all over the place. So they're like, there's a possibility that because of the location being where it is, but no mosquitoes? Are you kidding? That's like heaven to most animals. No
Especially in
mosquitoes.
Florida.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a beautiful property. You said you've been there?
I've camped out in their backyard. Yes.
Did you? Yeah, I stayed in the Sugar Shack many nights. Many
Oh
nights.
my gosh, that Sugar Shack is actually kind of scary. Okay,
Yeah,
we stayed in the Enchanted Forest. You know
yeah,
what I'm
yep,
talking
yep,
about.
yep. I know where you're talking about. Yep. But right
Yeah.
behind the house, there's a hill. Do you know that little hill behind the
Uh-huh.
house? That
Oh
is
yeah.
that. There was there were people with us that picked up on a possible portal in that area. I didn't, personally see anything or feel anything, but in that area, does that sound familiar? Is
It
that where you had yours?
absolutely. I would. Yeah. We see. Okay. Here's the thing. My team takes a very unconventional approach to a lot of our research. We do the boots on the ground research, but we're also all trained in remote viewing. And
Sure.
so before we went down there, we were tasked with a target of that property, and so we knew that there was something there already,
Right.
and we all kind of picked up on the activity that was going on down there, and then we went and actually spent the weekend down there. Some of the guys stayed a little bit longer, I think, but I spent a couple of nights, and
Right.
and we got to know the family, and
Great family. Yeah.
yeah, it was very interesting. I think that and I know that Stacy Brown Jr., which you've also interviewed,
Yep.
he's a friend of the show. He has had some activity there as well.
Yep.
So I think that's really cool that you when I saw your interview with them, I was like, man, I know them.
Which one did you listen to? The one I had to put offensive language,
No,
PG-18 or older to watch. Okay, 'cause Stacy's great. I love the guy to death.
Stacy's interview. Well, I could see Stacy's interview
Yeah,
having that. Yeah,
yeah. He's a character, great guy. I mean, he really is a good guy.
he is.
We went down. We had some. I'll tell you one quick story if you want to hear it anyway
Absolutely.
about that property, and it was there were probably 7 or 8 of us, I guess, sitting around in a circle out right in the middle of the woods, and there was half were woo, half were flesh and blood, and there
Okay,
was
good mix.
debates, yeah, absolutely, but the debate was going on, and for the record, I am a flesh and blood guy, I'm open-minded, I just got to see it, but
Yeah.
I said, okay, let's just settle this. I said, because when in Rome, you do as Romans do. So I said, Stacy, do you mind if I try something? And he said, no, go right ahead. So I said, real loud, I said, all right, if something's out there and you're there, and you can hear us, give me a sign. Give us a sign. Jessica, I kid you not, it was 5 seconds later, we hear a tree falling so slowly we could hear the pops in you know, every little piece of it as it cracked and fell over. An entire tree just boom, We're like, oh my gosh, And of course the flesh and blood side's like, now wait a minute. We're in the woods, trees fall in the woods,
Yeah.
I said, well, let's settle it. I said, all right, that was really cool. But if it's real, can you give us another sign just so everybody's on the same page? And Jessica, I kid you not, again, just a few seconds later, we hear this crashing noise now to the other side of us, all right? And we're like, that sounded like it came from the house, and we even heard metal. And we're like, what in the world was that, And so we all run up to the house thinking, that their shed had been destroyed by a branch or something, We get up there, and this is actually pretty cool because we walk around the house. Somebody sees this huge limb laying on top of the house all the way down to the ground. It actually dented the roof, which is a metal roof. They actually dented that. It was a huge branch. So we go inside, and they're all just sitting there watching TV. And I'm like, do you guys realize what just happened? They're like, what? Like, there's a tree fell on your house, and how nobody in that house heard that is impossible. But nobody in the house heard it, but we heard it from like 100 yards away. Clear, loud, clear. So there were two answers to direct questions, and they gave us a sign each time. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. That's really cool. And the fact that the people inside the house didn't hear a tree fall on it, that's
Didn't hear it.
wow.
No.
It doesn't shock me.
That should have been so loud in the house that it would have woke up anybody. You know, it was huge. It was
Wow.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, being out in the field as much as you are, you're still flesh and blood. Now, have you ever had any kind of supernatural, unexplainable experiences out
Sure.
there?
I have actually. I was in Washington, and again, you know, I mean, when I say, and I want to be clear, because when it comes to Bigfoot, I believe Bigfoot is flesh and blood. That's just my own personal opinion, and that's, you know, the evidence I've collected. You know, I don't think orbs leave footprints. I don't think Patty didn't disappear, you know, or cloak or anything else. I'm not saying she couldn't. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. That's all, you know. So, but I do believe that a lot of these things that happen when you talk about orbs and things like that, I think it's very possible that that's more paranormal than it is Bigfoot. Just because you're looking for Bigfoot doesn't mean you don't find orbs, you know, or something paranormal. You know, if you go to your closet and look for a red shirt, you could grab a blue one on accident. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so it's probably a bad analogy, but you get it. You know,
I've done it before. I get the wrong colored socks all the time.
So I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you what my beliefs are. You know, and I'm open-minded.
Absolutely.
If I see something that I find very intriguing, and I've had experiences. I was in Washington. We were. Are you familiar with the Grays Harbor video?
I don't know. I have to see it. I'm not
It's
sure.
the one where the Bigfoot is standing over by like next to a tree over a hill, and you just see him basically from the chest up.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it's like perfectly clear video.
Yeah.
Cows walk by even, you know. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're familiar with that, but I was there.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we were at. And I was standing there with Jonathan and Sarah Brown, who are absolutely wonderful people. They were so inviting, great host, had an awesome time. But we were standing out there, and it was, I can't explain it, but we were standing there and right in front and right in the middle of the woods, it was almost like someone turned on a porch light and then turned it back off. But it wasn't that illuminating. It was very, very small, like very local light. You know what I mean? It wasn't, didn't have like, it didn't light up the whole woods. It just like a ball, you know? And it just came on, was on for just a second and then went back off. And I'm like, all right, what the hell was that? You know, like that was weird. And I went the next day and looked for lights and wires and nothing. So I don't know. Don't know what that was.
Yeah, that happens to us out in the field quite a bit. We'll see flashes of light. And sometimes, you know, a lot of times we have a lot of activity at base camp. And it's usually after everybody turns in for the night. And everybody's, you know, you hear people snoring. You know how that goes. And you hear snores over here and snores over there. And then you start hearing the whistles and the whoops and the triangulation that they're doing. And they're getting closer to your base camp. And sometimes you'll hear footsteps, like people. I was probably snoring. Okay, I'm going to admit I was probably snoring. And then my friend Keith, actually, he there was one evening where there was a flash of light. Everybody was pretty much sleeping. Flash of light, and he had heard some footsteps. And you know, and it's almost like, well, are they orbs? And they just, or is there a portal that opens? We don't know. We're really not sure about all that. But it is interesting, and we're very open-minded about it. And I know that you advocate open minds when it comes to this stuff.
And I do. I mean, you know, again, just because I think they're flesh and blood doesn't mean I'm right, you know. But you know, that's where my head is at the moment. You know, I know there was my buddy Dan Lindholm, who started Bigtruth in the first place. Great guy, by the way, my brother from another mother. Dan was there. Kirk Brown was there. Adam Davis was there. And Russell Accord was there. And myself were there. And the four of us, Adam, myself, Kirk, and Dan. Now, Adam and I had night vision goggles on, some really high-powered military-grade night vision goggles. And Dan and Kirk were just using the naked eye. And we all four saw it at the same time, but there was an orange flicker of light in the woods. It was like a sparkler, like somebody opened to turn on a sparkler. You know, it was just lasted a second, but we all saw it, and we all said it was orange, which was interesting because when we were telling Russ about it, Russ goes, "It's impossible." We're like, well, no, it's not. We saw it. And he goes, "You can't." He goes, "Those night vision goggles only show white, black, and green." And I'm like, so, so how we all saw orange through night vision goggles is beyond me, but we did. Yeah, sure did.
Wow. Well, Ed, I got to tell you, the last time I was out in the field was a couple of months ago. I had some friends that came up from Florida who were researchers, and I took them up to North Georgia. I met them in North Georgia, and we were up at this very active area where I research. And I saw, and one of the guys with us, we each saw orange orbs in the tree line. And there's a lot of orange orbs, a lot of orbs. I've never seen an orange one before. It was an orange orb. And right as I saw it flash by, as soon as it went by, I heard a huff, like a growling huff right in front of me in the tree line. Yeah.
We did the same night, by the way, and that's cool. But the same night, by the way, we're sitting there by the campfire, and we're just being guys, talking guy stuff, and we won't go into that. But all of a sudden, we heard from probably it wasn't 50, 60 yards away behind where I was anyway, but it was like a woman screaming for murder. I mean, it was the loudest, most aggressive, just a scream, and I'm like. Like wait a minute, we didn't come for this, and we talked about it for quite a while, and I think the consensus was for most of them that it was a mountain lion, and I'm like, man, that was a woman. I know mountain lions sound like women. A woman screaming. I know that. I understand. But this was an actual woman screaming. This was weird, So, yeah, they all still, and I'll give them that. They might be right, but I'm standing firm. It was not a mountain lion in my opinion. But yeah,
I don't blame you. You can tell the difference, and that's part of being aware of your surroundings and being in the woods long enough to know the different sounds and the animals. Sure. And I'm lucky enough to have a wildlife biologist on my team. Okay, nice. He can identify all the noises.
Well, I don't know if I still have that on audio or not. I'd have to look around. I don't know that we got it on audio, to be honest, actually. But anyway, yeah. But if I did, I would definitely share it. Yeah,
yeah. It's good. A lot of times, people misidentify animal screams as women and children and stuff. But then we've also got that paranormal aspect and Sasquatch aspect. My friend Fred in Alaska, Fred Roll, who's a friend of the show, he has stories from locals up in Alaska. And by the way, he's one of the he's part of the Kiriung tribe up there, and so he's on the tribal council there. A lot of people come and tell him stories there. He's very trusted, very trustworthy, and so he has family and friends who talked about how the Sasquatch will imitate children and women sometimes to lure them out of their homes and stuff. So it's a little scary, Ed.
Yeah, we were in Alabama. This was 5-6 years ago. Adam, myself, and a friend of Adam's, Jason, a good guy, friend of mine too. But we all went to this property, and I'll make a long story short. But at one point, we all got separated, and I heard movement in the woods, and I had told Ashley, I said, that's okay. That's where, Jason and Diane are. I said, I'm not sure exactly where Adam is. And we saw a flashlight way down the road, and I'm like, okay, well, there's Adam. They're here. Let's go down to get Adam, because he's by himself. There's only 5 of us there. So we go walking down that way, and the light starts walking towards us. And when we kind of meet up, it's Diane, and we're like, wait a minute. I thought you were in the woods back there. She goes, no. And I said, well, where's Adam? She goes, he's right here. He's right back there. So where's Jason? She goes, he's right back there too. And I'm like, wait a minute. Adam and Jason are back there? And she's like, yeah. Because what happened just before that was I wanted to see where everybody was. So I said roll call real loud. And I said roll call. And I got a definitive here, a response to it. And we actually got that on audio. And so that was pretty cool. So that was and I don't know what would have responded into a two syllable. On the audio, you can't really make out what it's saying, but it's two syllables, and it just sounds like here or yeah, one of those two. But it was pretty cool.
Wow. I actually had the privilege of meeting Ron Moorhead and R. Scott Nelson right off the bat, right when I got into Bigfooting, and they,
You don't
yeah,
you
it
don't
was a pleasure and an honor really because it. I was already so open to all of the activity that I was experiencing out there in the field, but to know that the Sasquatch have their own language, and uh,
yeah,
it changes the game really when it
sure.
comes down to all the research. I think.
Yeah, and I've heard the samurai chatter that Ron recorded, and Ron is a superstar. Ron, I love that
Oh
guy
yeah,
to death, man. He's a really good guy. I mean, the guy's a beast. I don't. There's nothing else you can say about the guy. The guy's a
I
beast.
agree.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, well, just knowing, hearing that samurai chatter and knowing that Scott Nelson had taken it and transcribed it and found the phonemes and things like that. I have a degree in English literature. Okay, so I'm into language and just I don't know, not words. Okay. and so I was very much taken aback by all that. And I was really excited about it because it shows a whole different intelligence to the Sasquatch
sure, sure.
people. And so I believe that they're flesh and blood too, by the way. Okay. I believe they're flesh and blood. Absolutely. But we've also had some weird stuff happen out in the field, Ed, that I can't
Right,
explain, where they seem to just disappear right before your eyes. Now, it
right.
could be that we just don't have the rods and cones in our eyes and they can vibrate or something. I don't know. I don't know
Well,
what's going on, but there's something different about these things.
sure, sure. And let me just say that um, just because just because there are weird things going on doesn't mean it's Bigfoot doing it. I do believe that the paranormal. I mean, you take a piece of property that you go out to or whatever. You have no idea if 200 years ago there was a battle during the Revolutionary War at that spot and 20 men got killed. You don't know. And if they did, that would there's where your orbs are coming from. There's
Yeah.
where a lot of your sounds and your weird stuff are happening. Not that and again, I'm trying to be very clear. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I think they're two different things. Also, I think that's very possible. Like for example, my degree is in criminal investigations, right? So I have that very curious nature anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can definitely see a Bigfoot having that same curious nature as most animals. And what if they're seeing orbs and they come to investigate them also? So I'm not saying they're not connected in any way. I'm just saying there's a chance that they're not. There's a chance that it's paranormal happening in a place where Bigfoot's been spotted. I don't think that sounds weird at all.
I think you're right on target, actually, and that's how my team picks out places to go research, is local legends and lore,
Sure.
and it's places that are areas of concentrated high strangeness, I guess you can call it, where there's not just if there's a local werewolf story or a ghost road
Right.
or
Right.
something that has to do just like Pigman. I had a Pigman where I grew up. And we used to go out and go scare ourselves on the weekends at Pigman's house. Okay. But there's some truth to it. There was something there. I don't know what it was, but there was something at Pigman's. It chased us
Sure.
for sure.
Right. We were actually at the Bridges property, and I don't know if while you were there, did you see the old rundown, dilapidated house?
Yes. Yeah. We
Okay.
explored the whole property.
Okay. We were. Okay. I'm not. Okay. There's two actually. There's one that's kind of a little two-story, almost like a blind for deer hunting or
Hmm.
something. Is that the one
Hmm.
you're talking about? Okay.
Yes. That's the one I must be talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one where a baby vulture came out and scared the bejeebies
Yeah.
out of me, like really bad. Yeah. Like
Oh
I had
my
to.
gosh.
Pretty close to having to go back and change my pants. It was real bad. So, but there is another house on the other side it's not really on their property. It's on an adjoining property, and we had
Mhm.
permission to go in the house, and we did a paranormal investigation in the house. And I was sitting in a window. The window's gone, of course, just the opening is there, and I'm sitting on the windowsill holding the camera. And I'll tell you what, I got the weirdest feeling that something was going to grab me and just take me out the window, And so much so that I actually got up and moved. All right. So I got up and I
Okay.
moved to another angle because I was like, yeah, I don't even want to sit in that window anymore. Just pitch black behind me. We ended up going outside, and while we were out there, and a lot of things happened between that and this, but Dan says, he goes, what the hell was that? And we're like, what? He goes, something just stood up and ran away. By the way, it stood up right by that window. So something very well could have been laying there in the weeds with me sitting in that window, and I just felt it. That sixth sense people get. But
Yes.
that was an interesting. We actually got on audio, by the way. I left a recorder in the house, and nobody was in there. Nobody was in the house. But on the recorder, you hear something move, like furniture slide, and then maybe 6 inches or so. Just hear that slide, and then clear as day, a voice whispered and just said, "They're outside." And it's like, that's wild. Didn't even notice
Oh
that
my,
till I was at home. But that's pretty cool.
that's amazing. See, Campbell, thank you
Yeah,
for that super chat. You were the sweetest. Yeah, that's where it's almost like all these dimensions overlap or something in some of these locations that we go and investigate like that. Because there's the Bigfoots, there's the ghost stuff going on. I mean, I carry the only equipment that I ever take out in the field, if I take anything, is my ghost hunting equipment. Because a lot of
yeah,
times and that's just me personally,
sure.
because the EVP recorders and the K2 meters, of course, my team, we all have Geiger counters and FLIRs and night vision, all that kind of stuff. But me personally, if I do anything, I'll just take some of my EVP recorders or something, because that really, it's the best thing for me personally. It's, first of all, it's
Sure.
lightweight and small, but it
Right.
picks up any kind of voices that are out there and
Yeah,
messages.
definitely. Yeah, get that parabolic mic so you can go in every direction. Or,
Yeah, those are creepy, actually,
oh man, yeah,
when you hear
yeah, yeah.
stuff creeping up behind you.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, wait a minute, and that could just be a mouse, but
It could
it's
be,
loud.
a squirrel sounds like a hyena sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's something,
yeah,
or a bear.
yeah. I don't know if
Yeah.
I heard a squirrel sound like a bear, that would be
Well,
that'd
your
be
mind.
pretty good.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so your mind uh,
Amen.
can play tricks on you out there.
Yep.
And so it's really, when people ask me about Bigfoot research and what do you need to be a Bigfoot researcher? Well, I say you got to have an open mind, like you and I discussed,
Right.
but you also have to have your mind straight, kind of. I was being interviewed last week or a couple weeks ago on a podcast, and they asked my friend Kristen and I, who's my teammate. They said, how do y'all stay calm in the field? Do y'all ever get scared? And I thought, well, man, I can't say I don't get scared, but I have a lot of big men around me that are very protective of us out there. So
Right.
it's hard to get scared because I don't go out by myself
Sure.
ever. But having your head straight is number one in my book. Just to be level headed, I guess. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, I think
Absolutely.
that's important.
I mean, I've made this point for a long time, and it I don't think it's really sunk in too much into people, but I'll say it again. The most important thing you can do as an investigator is, number one, be critical of your own evidence first, right? Whatever you get, you have to question it yourself. You have to analyze it. You have to try to duplicate it. You have to, because when you go putting something out and people start, bad mouthing you and all that stuff on Facebook or wherever these,
Yeah.
trolls are, when they start doing that, if you're putting stuff out that you haven't even been critical of yourself yet, then you just got to sit back and take it, I guess. There's not a
Yeah.
whole lot to be said. But if you're stern and you feel your evidence is good and it has a leg to stand on, and then by God, post it, and don't care what anybody says, because their opinions don't matter. It's your opinion that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah. That's something that I've had to learn the hard way is, being going public is not easy. when it comes to
Right.
Bigfooting and things like that, especially remote viewing. Okay. Being a remote
Right.
viewer, that's
Sure.
hard coming out publicly about. However, I've been trained pretty extensively in it. I'm pretty good at it, so it's okay.
Good.
I'll take the arrows, for the team. But just to come out is hard enough. But it took me 10 years to come out publicly about my research. My team's not very public about it. Well, one of my teams is not. But I think that right now we're at a time where the earth is changing, the environment, the society is changing. I think it's really time to share our information with the world.
Sure. Sure. I I think it's real important to share your information, and again, it's it's even more important to be a little thick-headed when you do. There's nobody's opinion, oh, and understand where they're. I guess this is more to the point. You have to understand where the skeptics, where their opinions are coming from. It's some guy named Ralph next to the guy at work, at the welder, and he says, "Oh, Bigfoot's not real," and he's like, "Okay, well that's he must be right." It's Ralph. He must be right. You know, Ralph is not making his assessment based on any research he's ever done, so he doesn't know. So when somebody who doesn't know is telling somebody else who doesn't know they're not real, then now you got two people who don't know, and they're too afraid to do their own research. So I tell people, you want to have a debate with me, I'm perfectly good with it, but I'm going to insist, or at least highly advise, you go get yourself educated first, because if you don't, I'm going to rip you apart.
Oh my gosh, Ed, I love that. And when people would ask me about Bigfoot, when I was doing all my research and I wasn't really public about it, when they'd ask me, I knew that they were just going to make fun of me. So I would just say, why don't you get some hiking boots and a backpack and some waters and some snacks, and you go find out for yourself. And that's
That's
what I
right.
would tell people.
You tell them, why don't you come with me so you can explain it to me then?
Come
Come
with
with me and tell
me.
me
Yeah,
what
be
that
my
was. Right.
backup.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes,
Just explain to me what I'm missing here. You know. So yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
It's that's a shame. I don't think anybody deserves to be laughed at or made fun of or anything else for what their beliefs are, no matter what their beliefs are. I've heard some things that I'm like, I won't go into them, but I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. But you know, who knows? I'm not going to laugh at them for it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I don't care if people laugh at me today. It's okay. I've had worse happen. It's fine. It's fine. We're out here. Listen, I hang out with so many awesome weirdos like myself now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And at least we're, in putting our information out there, I feel like it's important because there's so many people who experience this stuff and they're not as comfortable as we are talking about it. And now they
Right.
can know that they're not crazy, first of all. Okay.
Right.
Um, but in the South, Ed, I wanted to ask you about some other cryptids because I know you're into
Sure.
pretty much all the different cryptids and
Yeah.
UFOs.
I
Um,
do what I can.
yeah, I was wondering. I mean, have you experienced any other cryptids? And I've been doing a whole lot of shows on giants lately, and we have a lot of
Sure.
giant skeletons found. Do you have any experience
I
with
mean,
that?
I've heard the stories, and I've been to you know I guess I've never been out to the Pine Barrens, but I've been through the Pine Barrens. I didn't do any research, and in fairness, but I don't. They're fun stories, but I think if someone who was really good at armchair research, who could really navigate a computer, because I am not a tech savvy guy. I tell people I have a smartphone with a dumb user. I don't. That's just not my gig. But if somebody were good at it, I think they could probably trace back a lot of those to a specific story and origin. Um, uh, but but man, I don't know. I know that even Bigfoot, for example. I mean, they're different in different places in the country. You got the grass man in Ohio who's supposedly more aggressive. The skunk ape in Florida, which is generally thinner with really long thin hair as opposed to the big barrel chested thing. Washington, Pacific Northwest, a lot different thing. And Dr. Meldrum and I were discussing that one time, and I asked him, I said, why would they be different? He said, why would they not? I'm like, you answer my question first. you know, but he explained to me. He said, different regions, different weather systems, different scenarios of that nature would have a lot to do with how they are. What they've evolved into, if you will. So which made a good point.
That's a great point. Yeah, well, that actually, speaking of scientific research here, when we first started the show tonight, I mentioned something about the Sasquatch DNA study that David Paulides had done. This was from a couple of months ago. However, we all know about Dr. Meldrum having her, or not Meldrum, Melba Ketchum. It rhymes. So, right.
Yeah.
Yes, Melba Ketchum. She kind of disappeared out of social media and stuff. I don't see very much about what she's up to these days. But it seems like when people really start digging into the science behind the DNA,
Right.
a lot of times it kind of disappears. It makes me wonder: are people on the trail and on something that's not supposed to be known about or made public?
Right.
Yeah, that's my question.
And there's I think with Dr. Melba Ketchum, I think with her, and I don't know her. I've never met her. I did interview her one time, but it had to be through. I was able to send her questions. She answered the questions. I was allowed to ask rebuttal questions, and then she answered those, and that was it. So that was, but it was great. And she was very kind, very great answers. She took her time. She made them not just saying yes, she explained herself. And the only mistake I see that Melba Ketchum made was the possibility that she bought the peer review, the magazine that gave the peer review. So if that's the case, that doesn't make her research bad. It just means she made a mistake. That's there's nothing wrong with everybody makes mistakes. Who doesn't? If that's the case, then take the exact same stuff and start it over. Just don't use that source as a peer review, And too many people, it wasn't long ago, there weren't too many scientists involved in any of this stuff, right? But now there are. I was at the Phenomenon in September up in Vernal, Utah. I got to MC that conference, as a matter of fact, which was awesome. I had a great time.
Yeah.
But
How cool.
Oh my God, there were literally like 12 doctors there. There were, not medical doctors, but science doctors.
Yeah.
So
Real smart people.
yeah. Obviously, I'm not one of them, or I would have done a better job of explaining that. But
hey, you are who you're with, Ed. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you, but I actually made the joke. I made the joke on stage. I said at the very beginning, I said, I know there are so many doctors here, but this is not a medical convention. It's actually a paranormal, cryptid convention. So you're in the right place. It's a good time.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you get out quite a bit? I've seen you. Listen, I've been following you. Okay, and I know that you have you been to Skinwalker Ranch before? That's a very interesting place.
I have. I've never been on the ranch, but I have been to the gate, and we actually talked to Tom and Candace there for a long time. What a great couple. They're such nice people. They sat and talked to us for a long time, which was awesome. Then we went around. We went up on the mesa and looked down over the ranch, but I've never been on the ranch. No. But
oh wow.
But the guys on the show, I did have a chance to meet them in Vernal, and I'm telling you, those guys were classy guys, man. They are classy guys. Really good guys. Dragon has always been my favorite TV personality, but after meeting all of them, man, they're just all great.
Oh yeah. Well, the place that my team researches, we call it the Skinwalker Ranch of the South. So listen, if you ever want to go to the Skinwalker Ranch of the South, Ed, you hit me up. Let me know when you're in Georgia, okay? And maybe we can take you. Okay.
I just live right just north of Chattanooga. I live in Tennessee, just outside of Georgia. So
okay,
if you guys look,
we'll make it a weekend. Okay.
You guys make plans, and then you let me know when. And if I just need a few weeks ahead of time, and I'm good.
Okay, so it's an undisclosed location. I gotta warn you, so you may have to sign an NDA, but we'll take you. Okay, I'll take you.
Right, yeah. I'll sign one.
Yeah, now we have a lot of fun out there, and we not only is there Bigfoot activity, but a lot of UFOs, and UFOs a lot. That's where you documented a portal. Okay, and so
Right.
yeah, I think it's right up your alley, and I think you'd have a lot of fun
Great.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm game. Yeah, I was telling Duke today. I said, he was telling me about a place up in Montana, and I'm like, dude, give me a call. Just give me notice. I can. That's the good thing about working for myself is I can go wherever I want to go, and that's the reason I'm able to go do all these things is because of my job. It's I don't.
You
I'm
travel.
not. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm actually a pet transporter. I take animals all over the country.
Oh,
So
do you?
when
Wow.
yeah, so when I want to go somewhere, I just get work going there, and then I go do what I want to do, and
Oh my God, you have like my dream life then. You're transporting
yeah,
animals, you're doing
yeah,
paranormal stuff, you're meeting all these cool people and researching in the field all together at the same time.
yeah.
I
I'm
like
not
that.
complaining.
I like that. And I bet you probably drive a van that you could probably sleep in. Am I right?
I I do sleep in my van. Yes, yep. Every night on
So
the road, I don't
jealous,
sleep.
man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I may have to ask you for some pointers on how to get that kind of lifestyle because that sounds like fun. So,
It's
yeah.
a wonderful life. It really is. I mean I honestly I'm blessed. I mean I get to go where I want to go, meet who I want to meet, and I'm it's not anything but just being lucky in the right place at the right time and made some choices that fortunately worked out. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I enjoy your interviews. I know you're on your YouTube channel. You hadn't had any recent interviews for a while, but yours are
Right.
classic. Okay. It's been a year. It's been
Yeah.
about a year or so since your last one, but they are classic
Yeah.
interviews, all of them.
Well, I will tell you that I guess I can go and announce it on here. I haven't talked to Adam about it yet, but Adam Davis, technically, we're gonna have to work on that because it's pronounced Adam Davis, but it's spelled Adam Davies. Just because he's from England, it's
I
pronounced
think I
Davis
said
there.
Davies
So
earlier, so I
yeah,
apologize if I
and
pronounced it
everybody
wrong.
does. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. It doesn't bother him a bit. But I jokingly tell everybody he's from Australia, and he gets mad at me. When we're traveling or something, we go get something to eat, and it's like, he's from Australia. I am not. but but Adam and I are actually going to uh, possibly start a podcast real soon, so that'll be a lot of fun, and we'll uh, we'll have on, hopefully, some of the people that people want to hear from. So
Oh, I have
it'll be
no
fun.
doubt. I have no doubt. You
Yeah.
have the heavy hitters on your channel, and I had the pleasure of meeting. Well, there are two that I met actually in the Alabama Bigfoot conference last June. I remember it was June because that's my son's birthday. Okay, and we went and I met Cliff Barogman. I met Cliff and I met Ken Gerhardt actually there. And you've
Oh,
interviewed
great
both of
guys.
them
Yeah.
on your
Yeah. Ken.
shows.
Ken is, he's man. I think he's so I hate to say it this way, but it's true. He's so underrated. I mean, he's such a good guy. He's a great researcher, extremely intelligent guy. But I think he's so direct to his beliefs and his thought process, which is nothing wrong with that, by the way. That it's hard, but what a great guy, Cliff. Man, what can you say about Cliff? Awesome.
He's amazing. He's amazing. I was very it just like you said, we all get up in the mornings and we put our pants on the same, and
Right.
you see a lot of these people on television and they're just they're bigger than life, but when you meet them they're just
Right.
like the rest of us, like all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about the Bigfoot community, is
Right.
that everybody's super down to earth. We're all just looking for answers, and we're all kind of on the same path of trying to maybe not just so much solve these mysteries, but just to understand what we've
Right.
experienced.
Sure. It's funny. I was talking to Russ one time. This was after Vernal, and I told him I talked about Dr. Maria, Maria Mayer, and I said I got to be honest, dude. I said I didn't think I was gonna like her. I thought she was kind of, I thought she was gonna be mean. You would be hard pressed to find somebody funnier and nicer than her. I mean, she was cracking on me in 5 minutes, and I'm like, yep, I love that lady. She's awesome. So Dr. Maria, she's awesome.
Yeah, I have not had a chance to meet her yet. I'm looking forward to meeting her one day. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that there's just so many very credible people now, better
Sure.
better show. I'm just gonna say better shows on TV now, things like that. Not that
Right. And
any of
that's
them
not,
were ever bad, but I'm just saying,
no. And that's
more
exactly true. I
credible.
mean, well, Finding Bigfoot had its place. It did its
It did.
job. It brought the awareness of the subject to the forefront. That's because of Finding Bigfoot, we have people like Russ, Dr. Maria, Ronnie, and the list goes on and on. That we have those people because of what Finding Bigfoot did. And now these guys are putting on very educational and very interesting and very good shows, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very entertaining. And I find myself looking at these shows and comparing my team's research to like how they're researching and stuff. And it's actually really fun. And
It is.
yeah, I can't
It
say
is.
that we're all 100% the same. Like we do the same kind of stuff, but it just to see it out there and
Sure.
people having respect for it now.
Right.
How has the public's perception of Bigfoot changed since the first time you started Bigfooting?
Well, and that's a really good question. I know when I first started getting into it, and I mean, I had been into it for years before I ever really got into it. You know what I mean? But when I first got into it, yeah, it was embarrassing to if somebody said he believes in Bigfoot, it was like, no, I don't. I just think there may be real. It was embarrassing, and I get it. But once you get past that, and you realize that the people that are saying that they don't know either. you know, they have an opinion just like you do. And so you learn their opinions don't matter, and until they get educated, there's really nothing they can argue with you about because I can tell you this for sure: it is possible to prove Bigfoot is real. It is impossible to prove they are not. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I get asked all the time my opinions on videos that come out, and I used to always say I just thought everything was probably fake, right? I used to think everything is fake. I don't know. There's so many hoaxers out there and stuff, but there's some very credible evidence right now out there. A lot of these videos. I mean, even if you even go on TikTok, I'm not a TikToker very much. Okay, I try not to get on there too much, but there's a lot of very credible videos out there of actual
Sure.
Sasquatches.
Sure. Yeah, it ain't. I mean, you can even go all the way back to not the one that started it all. There were actually videos before the Patterson Gimlin film, but I mean, look at the legend, Patterson Gimlin film, Patty. I mean, it. You look back to that time frame in 1967, October 20th, 1967. That suit, if it were a suit, would had to have been made with material that didn't exist yet. That
That's
that
right.
material didn't even come out yet. And you're telling me that Ed Brown, thank you. You're welcome. um, and you're telling me that two old cowboys who couldn't even afford to keep the camera, Roger Patterson actually got in trouble because he didn't return the camera in time. It was a rented camera. Were able to put a suit together that was better than the suits in the Planet of the Apes that came out about the same time. Not
Yeah.
not likely. Not likely.
No.
So no.
Probably not. I'm sorry. My computer was, I forgot to plug my computer in. It was about to die. Okay. I'm glad I caught that.
So, it's all right.
Would have
Good
been
catch.
bad.
Good catch.
Yes. Good
Yeah.
catch. Right.
I'd have kept it going. I'd have kept it going for
Got
you.
to
It'd have been all
improvise
right.
here. Well, I've got like my phone and my computer. I got all this stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
So I'm
As long as I don't have to
multitasking here.
sing, everybody's okay.
Yeah. We're all good. We're all good.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yes. Well, I mean, we've come a long way. I think the Bigfooting community
Yeah.
has come a long way. The research has come a long way, and it's thanks to people like you, Ed, and sit down with Ed Brown. I mean, that is amazing. I mean, just the fact that you have been able to document all these stories, and the research and people's personal experiences. It's really helped the community in so many ways, and so I thank you from a researcher standpoint.
Well, I appreciate that, but I can tell you that my research that I've done is not alone. And I'm not talking about just the names you mentioned earlier. I mean, there are lots of people who have I've been out researching with that, you know, maybe don't have the name yet, but they should. There's a lot of researchers out there. And Duke, for example, is a good one. I'm looking forward to getting up
Yeah.
there with Duke. I want to check out that area, but you know, there's so much more to be discovered, and I'm just glad that we're doing it in a time when it's definitely way more accepted. I tell my clients now, I always tell them, it's like, that the good thing about my job is I can do my hobby, and don't laugh at me, but I hunt for Bigfoot. And they're like, oh, really? Really? Well, we saw one over there, or we heard one over there. And I'm like, really? So, I don't mind. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. It's a badge of honor for me now. See,
Okay. Yes.
That stands for, where's it at? There it is. That's not the Bengals. That's Bigfoot.
So Bigfoot. Well, Ed, every single car that you pass on the road today, I mean, I'm going to say about 50% have a Bigfoot sticker on them.
Oh,
Am
yeah.
I right?
Yeah, you see them everywhere. Absolutely. Yeah, I do.
I've got 2 Bigfoots on my car and an alien.
Yeah, yes, you sent me the one with the Bigfoot with the Georgia flag. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one.
Awesome.
We got that. I've got alien. I've got Bigfoot and alien holding hands. Okay.
Nice. Nice.
Yes, because that's what I've experienced. I've never seen them hold hands, but they've got some kind of connection, I think. So.
And you know what? And they very well could. I mean, we simply don't know enough. That's all.
That's right. Well, Ed, where can people find your channel? I have Bigtruth on YouTube, and you said you're going to be starting another podcast soon. Hopefully, I hope you keep me posted.
I will, and I definitely will, because obviously we would love to have you come on.
I'd love to
and get some of your stories. I mean, with all your experience, got to get that out there, girl. Come on.
Well, heck yeah. Hey, I think I'm doing a good job. I'm getting my stories out there. Everybody knows. And what I'd like to do is bring all my teammates on my shows, and let them tell their own stories, because we've got a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. Well, Ed, thank you so much for being here. This has been a pleasure. I am so excited that I got to talk to you tonight. I got to sit down with Ed Brown. Okay. So,
it has been my pleasure, and I definitely I was honored to get the invite, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Well, we'll be talking again. This is not the last time we're gonna be talking. Okay.
An hour isn't enough, Jessica.
It's never enough. Everybody complains, including me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Ed, listen, you be safe out there, and next time you're in Georgia and you want to go Bigfooting, you hit me up. Okay. I'm here.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Have a great night. Thank you, Ed.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay. All right. See ya. All right, y'all. That was amazing. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has an incredible journey to take you guys on for the next 3 hours. Next time on Off the Trails, my guest is Adam Davis of the International Dogman Project. We're going to be talking about Dogman, of course. I can't wait. But for now, I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. I will see you guys next time. I hope y'all have a very good night, and thanks for being here. Bye, y'all.